r/AskReddit, serious people of Reddit, what was the creepiest thing you experienced that you thought was paranormal, but was actually much scarier when you found out what really caused it? About 7 years ago, my family rented a one-story house. It was originally one bigger house that was split off into two, and there was another family that lived in the other part that we didn't really talk with. During the night, I would hear what sounded like knocks above the ceiling, but any entrance to the small crawl space between the ceiling and the roof was patched up when the house was divided. For a while, I thought there was a ghost who lived in the attic, and I would have trouble going to sleep without a light on. After we moved out, I heard through the grapevine that the neighbor's kid was caught spying on the new people that moved in. Turns out that he had broken a hole in the ceiling of his closet to get into the crawl space and had been looking through holes that he had bored in the ceiling overlooking the other part of the house. The noises I heard was him moving around on him, arms and knees up. As a young kid, I had nightmares of waking up to see my mother hovering over my bed by the window. She just blankly stared down at me and my sister. I'd get so scared, yelling, "Mom! Mom!" And she never responded. It knew it was not my mom. When I was older, I told my aunt about it and she told me they weren't dreams. It was real. My mom would go into our rooms randomly to check on us. She had serious mental health issues that got worse over the years. Occasionally she would have episodes of anxiety of something happening to us and guard us at night. Due to the traumatic death of her first child, it apparently triggered obsessive anxiety when we were younger. I now know the whole fucked up backstory and can sympathize with why it would make any parent get to that mental state, but I still shudder when I think of the blank face stare. I still tend to associate the nightmare mom as not. This did not happen to me, but it happened in my city when I was in high school. A family thought that their house was haunted because things like furniture and objects would randomly move or go missing. This went on for several months. They even reached out to their pastor to bless the house. Well, the house wasn't haunted. It turned out that a drifter had wandered in at some point and had been living in their attic. He would come out when the family was at work and eat their food and go through their things for cash and stuff to sell. One day, one of the family members came home unexpectedly and caught them. Called police for an active break-in. The cops quickly discovered what had been going on. I wonder how many haunted houses turned out to be invaded houses. If it fits, but this happened a few days ago, on Valentine's night. I live on the ground floor of some apartments. There was really intense knocking on my door and some neighbors' doors at midnight. I looked out the peephole of my door but couldn't see anything even when my door got knocked on again. I was honestly terrified. I couldn't see anything. After a minute or so, I heard my upstairs neighbor's door open, crying, and a phone call to 911. I went outside to check on her, and there was a woman I'd never seen before, who I learned lived next to me. Her husband had been abusing her and had just kicked her out of the apartment. It was freezing outside and she was only in her underwear. He had broken her glasses and taken her phone, wallet, and keys. It took the police 5 hours to get here. I hope she's all right. My uncle bought an old house, 150 years old, as a fix-up project. If you went up the stairs you had an option to turn right or left. Left led to a series of bedrooms and right had a landing and one bedroom past it. If you took the dog upstairs she would cry and run away if you tried to take her right. My cousin insisted that the bedroom to the right was haunted, thus the frightened dog. Later we worked on the house and found that the landing to the right was structurally unsafe. To this day we wonder, did the dog know the landing was unsafe somehow, or was there something more sinister at play? So sometimes I get sleep paralysis. I've accepted that if I wake up and weird things are happening, I should just ignore them. Well, one time I woke up in the middle of the night to two male voices arguing, nothing unusual. I tried to ignore it and go back to sleep, when I heard my dog start barking/growling, and then heard my parents talking in concerned voices. I realized it was not sleep paralysis at all, and got up to find a very drunk father and son duo arguing outside our front window, started swearing at us when my dad yelled at them to move along. Cops were called. Another time, same situation, only it was a vole tunneling into my room very noisily, and eating through the drywall. I have sleep paralysis several times a week. It sucks, but I feel a bit better now because I almost never meet anyone who shares my experience. I'm sorry it happens to you. Most people don't get how horrible it is. It's the same for me now though. I just try to ignore the sounds and the feeling of presences etc., and just want to sleep. I learned a while back that I can move my toes. It wakes me up faster for some reason. But as I said, I mostly just want to sleep now. Not sure if this really counts, but about 5 years ago I got a phone call from my brother and he just kept mumbling into the phone. He kept muttering random words, and because I was younger, stupid me thought he was possessed or something, but he had just had a seizure and had just woken up. My brother gets really woozy and panicky after he has a seizure. scared the living hell out of me. When I was 8 we were on a long holiday, staying with some family in a town called It's in country Queensland, Australia. I was staying in their son's room who had moved to Brisbane for university. Each night I had the same recurring nightmare, alien tentacle trying to grab me. After a week I was terrified of going to sleep, but my parents kept telling me that it was okay. I was just frightened because we were staying somewhere new and that it would be okay. Well, I couldn't get to sleep. I kept watching the clock, waiting for the sun to come up and terrified of the alien. It was just after 2 a.m. when a large tentacle landed on the bed. I screamed in terror as I felt the tentacle wriggling. I jumped out of bed and kept screaming. My parents, aunt, uncle, and sister run into the room to find me huddled in the corner screaming. Turns out it was an adult carpet python over 2 meters long, 6.5 feet. Each night it worked its way under a ceiling tile and onto the bed. I still have an Indiana Jones fear of snakes. Why'd it have to be snakes? I was 7 years old, home alone. My parents went for dinner at around 9 p.m. They left me in bed for me to sleep. Hours passed and still couldn't sleep. Went downstairs to get some milk and cookies to watch TV in my parents' bedroom. While I was getting my snacks, I felt like someone grabbed my shoulder hardly. I was so scared I couldn't even turn to check who did it. I stayed there, frozen, for at least 1 minute straight. I had the balls to run and went to my parents' bedroom. I locked myself in there and didn't get out until my parents came home. It was 3 a.m. and heard my parents' car park outside the window. I was never so happy for them to come home. As soon my parents get in the house, my OM screamed and called 911. The thing I thought was a ghost that grabbed me is actually a drug who secretly lived in our basement and that night thought nobody was home, so went grab some snacks from the fridge too and confused my shoulder with the fridge's door and then passed out. Still freaks me out to this day. What makes it scarier is that I still have no idea what happened. This is the only or paranormal thing that has ever happened to me. I was 11 and I recently moved to another city with my family due to my father being in my country's army. We were staying there for a year and thankfully the army gave us a decent house in a complex built for officials with families. Each house had their large backyard and was separated from other houses by 12 feet concrete walls. One Sunday my family went to buy some stuff at the supermarket. My older sister went with them and my little one was still a baby, so I was gonna be alone for a couple of hours. I was okay just playing with my dog, but I remembered that I needed to get my black socks for my school's Monday uniform that resembled a suit and tie. I went to the backyard to get them since they were hanging to dry. At this point I was getting bored of waiting for my socks and I say out loud, "I'm really bored," only to almost immediately hear a young voice closely say, "Then let's play." The voice was clear but not loud. It didn't feel like it came from in front of me or any of my sides. It was just there. I turned around to see my normally hyperactive golden retriever sitting quietly and staring at me. I look around very fast trying to find the source of the voice, but the house to the right was empty and separated by the concrete wall. The house to the left was over 50 feet away and behind the wall, and behind my house there was the long wall with nothing but a steep hill and a house at the bottom behind it. I ran for dear life and hid in my parents' bedroom under the covers and turned the TV on at max volume until they arrived. I explained to them what happened and they had to calm me down for the rest of the day. I have no idea what was that, and to this day I still cannot put my finger on it. I knew the kids on the house to the left, and it wasn't any of their voices. The house to the right didn't have any kids as I learned later, and there's no way some kid climbed a hill, then a 12 feet wall covered in sharp glass at the top just to say that. I have a little dog that barks at everything. I was watching a scary movie at home alone one night and my dog ran to the back door and started barking like crazy. Once I got over the initial fear of ghost, I realized that she probably needed to pee. I let her out and she ran straight to a bush in the corner. She keeps barking at the bush, so I go out to see what it was, thinking a cat or squirrel. There is nothing there, so I pick her up and take her inside. When I turned to walk I saw some kind of shadow, so definitely ghost now, and I run. I lock myself in my room while my dog continues to bark at the window, but looking out there is nothing there. The next day a cop shows up at my door. A woman next door got accosted in her backyard the night before and the house on the other side was broken into while the people were asleep. The guy didn't take anything, he was just walking around when someone found him. They think the guy used my backyard to get to the two houses. For several months during my senior year of high school and all through the summer before I left for college, I kept hearing noises coming from the attic above my bedroom. I would only hear it at night, and I told my parents and brothers that it sounded like someone walking in the attic and dragging a chain on the ground. My dad even had me go sleep on the couch one night so he could sleep in my room to try to hear it. My older brother went up into the attic. Nothing. I left for college and didn't really think much of it. When I returned for my first visit home, my dad revealed he'd found a slow leak in one of the pipes that rotted a hole in the ceiling above my bed. The drip of water had been ricocheting around the pipes, sounding like chains dragging. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you have any stories, post them in the comment section.